Hi guys, welcome to our next session in our logo bootcamp. And I believe you've been enjoying the session. It has been amazing, and I believe you got to know a lot of things about the theoretical aspect of logo design. Okay, and we are still moving on. We just have the last theoretical aspect today. Then we'll move into Illustrator. I know a lot of persons have been waiting to just handle Illustrator, but just be patient because this foundation is very important. So without further ado, let us begin. Okay, so today we're going to be dealing with what we did the last time, or let me say continuation of where we stopped the last time, and it's going to be on things to consider when choosing a brand color system. Okay, like I said, color is very important. It's a very important part of brand design or logo design, because the color gets to give it taste. So before we begin, I want to bid you to subscribe to this channel. Okay, follow me on Instagram, creativeekd. Okay, also you want to like this video so that it gets to reach other persons. Okay, this is a rare opportunity, having me do a free course or a free boot camp on logo design. Okay, and I want other persons to still enjoy this opportunity. Okay, so without wasting much time, let us begin. Things to consider when choosing a brand color system. Number one is that you have to consider demographic of the brand. Okay, and demographic has to do with the sex, the age range that would patronize the brand and things like that. You also have to look at the geographical location. Okay, like I said the previous time, so I'm not going to be wasting much time on this because I've covered all this, almost all this before. So you consider the audience also, and this can still be the demographic. Okay, if it's children, if it's a feminine brand, you get the last time I talked about colors to use for brands that has to do with children, or if it's a feminine brand, how to go about it. Okay, and something you want to also consider is most times your clients might have choice of colors based on certain reasons. Okay, based on certain reasons, like I was talking about mascots, because there might be some history concerning that particular color for the client. Okay, in such cases, you do not just throw it away and say, okay, this is not professional. Okay, you just have to embed it. Okay, if possible, right, you have to embed it. And so there is a particular history alongside you having to bring your professional input. Okay, you don't get to just throw away the history of the brand or the history the client wants the brand to carry. Okay, there might be some certain times that the client might say, okay, use this color or use that color, so you have to consider it if possible. Okay, so the next thing is that you want to consider the brand category. This cannot be overemphasized enough. Okay, some categories you need to use certain colors. Okay, and it's very famous to use blue for tech brands. Almost all tech brands, they're having blue. Like of Facebook, I think blue is a very safe color to use. It falls across a lot of categories of brands or niches, but I think mainly tech brands use blue. So there might be a dominating color in a particular category, a particular niche the brand belongs to. So you don't want to go too far off. Okay, like a great designer would say, Paula from Pentagram, she would say that you don't want your client to be looking very strange. So maybe everybody's wearing a red hat, then your client is putting on a black hat. It will be too strange. Okay, it will be too strange. I know sometimes we want to think outside the box, want to do different things, but there's an extent to which you can go. Okay, so you just have to look at the category of brand. What is the dominating color here? So let me not just go too far. Sometimes you get to mix it so it looks a bit different and things like that, but you have to know the dominating color for that niche. Okay, so that's it. So move to the next one. Consider their competitors. There's one thing about these communication companies like Airtel, MTN. They are known a lot for their colors, and you will see them related to brands. In case they want to sponsor, they relate to brands that have their colors. Okay, and you hear terms like yellow for MTN. So colors are very important. So you look at it, you say yellow is for MTN, then you want to create another telecommunication brand, then you are using yellow. It means you are looking for trouble. You want to confuse the persons that are going to patronize that brand. Okay, yellow is already for MTN, so you can go a different route. You can choose some other colors. In Nigeria, we have blue, and they are mainly known for green, using green. So you want to deviate a bit. Okay, you want to deviate a bit. So that's for that. So the next thing we have is consider the aesthetic implication. Okay, So you don't want to just use any color because maybe the brand is using it or things like that. You want to know really, is this color going to be fine? Is it going to be beautiful? That's what I mean by the aesthetic implications. So sometimes you are combining colors, you just okay, because this color is the color that is dominating in this niche, I want to use it. Then you just mix it to another color without considering if it's going to be fine or not. You don't consider the aesthetic implications. So you have to do that. Is it going to be fine when I mix these two colors? When I'm using this color palette, is it going to be beautiful? Is it going to stand out? Okay, so you have to consider that also. You want to consider the brand name. You want to consider the brand name. Sometimes a brand might just have, for instance, I worked with a brand that had the name Greenfoot. So in such case, there's little you can do. Sometimes you work for maybe a company called Blue Whales. You already have the color, the blue, on the brand name, so there's little you can do to deviate from that color. Sometimes you just have to stick to that color. Most times I think it's advisable to stick to that color because the brand name is already carrying the color. So we are moving to another topic, which is a visual language. So a visual language, they are the different medium or elements to effectively communicate the brand. Okay, apart from the logo, there are other elements you can use. So it's called a visual language. So sometimes you can use the color to communicate what the brand represents. Sometimes they have patterns that help to communicate what the brand represents. Okay, so sometimes we have imagery. There's a way they take their photos. So there are some brands that use just black and white basically, and that's not bad because that's the way they just choose to communicate. Okay, just to distinguish yourself from lots of brands we have. Okay, so there are some brands that when they do their imagery, they do their photos, they tend to use a lot of saturations. Okay, so that's their style, that's their way of communicating. So it differs across different brands. Okay, sometimes they can use imagery, pattern, shapes, things like that, just different things. Okay, colors. Okay, so it depends on what the brand wants to do. We'll move to our next topic. So who is the brand identity designer? Okay, we've not talked about this. So I know this is the major topic we're talking about, but I feel it will be more better for it to appear here. Okay, so who is a brand identity designer? Because people tend to call themselves brand identity designers, a lot of persons, but I want you guys to know who really a brand identity designer is. So brand identity designers use strategy to create the elements of your brand. Okay, your logo, color palette, typography, image style, etc. These elements should be unique to your company. They help to illustrate your brand. So there are people that are professionals at helping to communicate what your brand represents. They use different strategies just to communicate what your brand represents, okay, to your audience, to them that will be patronizing that brand. They help to just create a culture around your brand, okay, with your vision in mind. Okay, so that's what they do typically. So there are 5 famous leading brand identity designers that I know. 5 famous. There are lots of them, but these are the 5 that are so famous. So after I mention them, you might likely want to follow them, okay, to get certain inspiration. Okay, so we have them. We have Sagi Aviv. So Sagi is a New York-based code graphics designer and a partner in the firm Shemaev, okay, and Gisma and Aviv. Okay, so he designed the identity for Animal Planet. He has a lot of identity he has designed, but the most famous one, there are a lot of famous one in fact, but one that is very, very catchy. A lot of his projects are catchy, and I think it's Animal Planet. So you might want to look out their brand identity later. We have another one, Paula. Paula is an American graphics designer, and I've been really inspired by her works. The first female principal at Pentagram. Okay, Pentagram is a design firm. You want to also look up Pentagram. They have a lot of amazing works and a lot of amazing partners. Okay, so she designed identities for Citibank and Windows 10. Okay, you know how these brands are famous. I think that's the old logo for Citibank. You can check up the new most recent logo, but Windows 10, I think that's recent logo for Windows 10. So we have another one. We have Caroline Davison. Okay, so she's a graphic designer best known for designing the Nike watch. Okay, there are lots of things concerning this logo. I think one of them was that she designed this logo for a very minute amount, a very minimum amount. At that time, Nike had not gained recognition. Okay, and I think later on they had to compensate because this logo did amazing, and I think she had to be compensated for what she did later on. Okay, so we have another person, Chris Do. You must have heard of me talking about Chris Do. He's a great mentor to me. I believe the other time we had a conversation. If you've not looked up that conversation, you have to look at it. I had a live Instagram session with Chris Do. He gave me that opportunity. So it's been somebody that's been mentoring me. So Chris Do is the founder of Blind. His agency has developed quite a number of identities and is an inspiration to millions of creatives all over the world. Okay, he's an inspiration to me, myself. And I think if you've not checked out our conversation, you have to check it out. It's right on this channel. Okay, so we have another person, Rob Janoff. Okay, Rob Janoff designed the Apple logo. Okay, and the Apple logo has really been timeless, though it has been changing. Sometimes it's beveled and things like that, but the form has actually been timeless. I think it's somebody to also learn from. Okay, so how much can a brand identity designer earn? Because I think most times we do these things for passion and everything. What is the reward like? What is the reward like? What is the reward like? So how much can a brand identity designer earn per client? So what I'll say is that there are really no margins. Okay, it depends on the ease, the expertise, the experience, or exposure. Okay, it depends on these three things. Expertise, how good are you on the work? Then experience, how long have you been doing it? Then exposure, for how many brands have you helped? Has it been successful so far? How was their productivity like after you did their brand identity for them? So things like that, it shows how experienced you are. So I'll just move to what I guess can be what you can look up to earning after developing your expertise, your experience, your exposure, what you can look to earning. So can you guess how much was charged for the BBC logo? So before I move to the next slide, I want you to guess how much was the BBC logo. Don't look at Google, just guess how much was charged. I think you know the BBC logo in your mind. It's just 3 squares having BBC, as simple as that. So I'm just going to move to the next slide. Yeah, BBC logo redesign was $1,800,000. Okay, just calculate it in your local currency if you're not using dollars. So calculate it and let's get to know. So it's a very simple logo, but most times people look at a logo like this and say it's very simple. Wow, I can even do this right now, I won't even waste time. But most times they don't get to see the back end. There are a lot of things that goes along with the logo, like I've been teaching you. You should already know that there are color systems and the rest of the visual language and things like that. And just know that BBC has a lot of subsidiaries, so they have to make this go along with all the subsidiaries. And I think maybe not even maybe an organization did this for them, so it's not just a sole proprietor, just one man. So that's just it. So you should be looking to earn this maybe even if not now, you should be challenged to work on yourself, work on your skill set. And that's one of the reasons you are taking this course. One day you should be able to charge this. You grow. Okay, you don't just get here one day, you start to improve yourself. So this is what BBC was charged for their logo. So another thing you want to know about is logo presentation. Okay, so I have learned through experience that how you present your design work is as important, if not more, than the physical design phase. Okay, how you present your work. Tips on how to present your logo to your client. So start with the logo brief. If you are presenting it, you have to do a lot of writing. If you don't like writing, you would write. Okay, tell them about what they gave you to do. So this is what you are telling me to do now. So you can give me a DM. I will send you one of my presentation that I did for a client. You can use that to get inspiration. So you talk to them about the brief they gave you, the problem they gave you to solve. So you start with the problem, then from the problem you tell a story, you give them your logo. Okay, this is what I've done, this is the identity I've created for you, but this is the story behind the identity. And sometimes you get to embed some history, maybe the client gave you, or the values of the company, you get to embed it on your logo. So you get to tell them about it. Okay, tell them about how this would work, how this resonates with their target market. You have to tell them this is how this will push your brand to a wider audience. This is why this would work. Most times people don't tell them why it would work. Nobody lives what works. Okay, it should not just be beautiful, it should work. You want to include mock-ups. Okay, provide context, present the client's logo in real world settings. Okay, if it's a logo that has to do with tech, maybe they have websites and things like that, you can present the logo in a website, present it in a t-shirt. Okay, it has to show, okay, envision them in the real world settings, put it on a billboard, things like that. It will help them to know how the logo is going to be in the real world. Okay, so show off the logo's versatility, the flexibility. Okay, so present it in different versions. Present it in white. Most times you look at my portfolio, maybe on Instagram or elsewhere, you see that I always present my logos in black and white. So I showed them that this logo can work in different forms. Okay, it can work in different, it can work in black and white, it can work when it's colored, it can work when it's 3D glossy, it can work. But most times people make the mistake of just presenting a 3D to clients. No, start from the basic form, white and black, then you move to when it's having a color, when it's having just one color, when it's having two colors, like that. So focus on the audience. So when you're talking to your clients, you're presenting something, focus on the audience. Focus on the audience. Tell them this is how your audience are going to feel while they are interacting with your brand. This is what is going to tell them. Tell them about how the logo is going to drive their audience. Okay, how it's going to drive sales. So you want to always put that in mind, because without those people that will patronize them, there will be no brand. So you want to always put them in the picture while you're writing these things, while you're presenting it. You want to always put them in the picture. So I think that is a very wise thing to consider. Okay, that's it for this session. Okay, on the next session we'll be moving to Illustrator. Okay, and I'll be teaching you about logo grids. I know a lot of persons have been wondering how logo grids work. We're going to move into Illustrator. I'll teach you the basics about Illustrator, and we're going to get right into how to work with grids, and we're going to get to how to work with golden ratios, and in all these patterns, whether grids, golden ratio, we're going to be creating different logos. That's going to take like two sessions. So we have 2 more sessions to go, and at the end I'm going to give you an assignment. Should I call it an assignment or an exercise to do? Then you get to submit it to me. So I'm glad that you made it this far to this bootcamp, and I believe you've learned something. So do not hesitate to subscribe to the channel, like and share. Okay, so see you next session. Bye for now.